Hello, hello. Let's see if this thing is working. I've legitimately streamed every day this week, I think so. I think. Hello, hello, hello. This is the last video of the week that I gotta film, but that doesn't mean that the work and grind stops. I'm also very, whatever the hell, sniffly. I don't know if that's the real word, but I'm gonna try to limit how many times I do it during the course of this video. But we do have a massive video for y'all this week. Like I said, anytime we are here for AHS Plays UFC 5, the goal is to make the next event bigger, badder, and better. And you can very much argue, is that the case here? You could be the judge. It's all opinionated, but we do have a massive event here with technically four, but three title bouts taking place. I'm going to run through the card, and then we're going to do the actual card. Also, spoiler alert, this event takes place at the Sphere, which is the most interesting arena in this game, because it's just completely different and different environment, different vibes than all the other arenas. I'm still asking for that Pride Arena. I guess we'll wait till UFC 6. But regardless, we're here for AHS Plays UFC 5 event number 6. If I had to give it an event name, it would be called Triple Threat, because like I said, we got three title bouts taking place. Our first fight, if you watched in the main event of the last event, Mike Tyson defeated Muhammad Ali in the first of hopefully and most likely many Mike Tyson's baddest man challenge, aka Mike Tyson's punch out, aka I/Mike have not decided what the hell to call it. And the next competitor to step up is Kimbo Slice. Will be a crazy fight. Next fight has high stakes involved because we are starting a welterweight Grand Prix soon, and the winner of this fight will have entry into that welterweight Grand Prix. Jorge Masvidal versus Nick Diaz, a fight in 2020 I thought could have happened because of the outcome of the Nate and Jorge fight. Could have been for the BMF title. Probably for the best that it did not happen then, and it's happening now. One guy's opinion. Now we get to the first of our three title bouts. One that, again, another fight that could have happened 2019, 2020. Demetrius Johnson, the greatest flyweight champion of all time, defending that crown against T.J. Dillashaw. This could have been a super fight. A lot of terms and circumstances got in the way of it, mainly Demetrius losing the title, but again, that's a story for a different day. But the story today is that these two guys, TJ and DJ, will be competing for our flyweight championship. Middleweight division. George St. Pierre defeated Robert Whittaker to become our inaugural middleweight champion. And before Dracus du Plessis and Sean Strickland in real life rematched, they rematched here. And oddly enough, it's not really that damn odd because it happened 3 times, but Sean lost 3 times and Dracus won and is our first challenger for George St. Pierre for the middleweight championship. Personally, and this is a side tangent, I'm a wrestling fan. I know that Dracus du Plessis' initials spell out DDP. A lot of people call him DDP. I do not like calling him DDP because DDP to me is Diamond Dallas Page. But for the sake of this fight, I'll call him DDP because DDP versus GSP, marketing-wise, would make a lot of sense. And hell, if Dracus wins, I might just start calling him that. But we got to wait for that. As our main event fight, Alex Pereira for the third time is a light heavyweight title fight here. And he's going against Mauricio Shogun Rua. And the winner of this bout already knows who's up next for a title fight. That's Quentin Rampage Jackson. But we got ways away to go to that and to see who's walking out of this event as champion. And also, I've been spending a lot of time. We're going to start this event, but I got several side tangents to talk about. First of which, we're at the spear as well, so we don't have any entrances at all tonight. So apologies to those that care for the entrances. All right, where's the first citation? Thing one. I like to plan well in advance, but as in life, as in sports, as in life, cards subject to change. Oh, this one's kind of important. We have one more spot left on our punch card before we unlock the Minotauro Nogueira alter ego. So let's see. And we're also one level away from level 69. So can we accomplish both of those during the course of this video? There's a high chance of that. So that was thing one. I like to plan in advance, and most definitely event number 7 and the card for that event will be revealed by the end of this video, and you already know one of the fights taking place, and that is John Jones versus Stipe Miocic 2 in the finals of our heavyweight Grand Prix to crown our first heavyweight champion. And I know this is an extreme technicality, but I said I didn't want to start another Grand Prix until our inaugural and the heavyweight Grand Prix was done. But the other 4 fights on Event 7 are the welterweight Grand Prix first round. So what I'm getting at with the technicality is that the heavyweight Grand Prix ends that night. The welterweight Grand Prix starts, but with the heavyweight Grand Prix finals being in the main event, then, you know, it wouldn't be over. So if I wanted to be very, very technical, which I'm not going to be, I would have had the heavyweight Grand Prix finals in the opening spot and the rest of the card be the welterweight Grand Prix, but we're not being that damn technical about it. So you already know one of the fights for the next event and the stakes for the other 4 fights. So that was thing 2. Thing 3. I've been streaming a lot on Twitch lately because my camera for my other YouTube videos has been messed up, aka there's no storage and no update, and I'm not really rushing to get it changed and fixed. So I've been just streaming on Twitch and uploading the VODs for my YouTube videos. So Twitch has implicated this new system that, like, there's like a new storage system on uploads and like clips of videos, which hasn't affected me yet because it doesn't involve the VODs. It's just all the other stuff, all the other videos. So it hasn't affected me yet. But what has affected me is that when I go to my video producer, there's a disclaimer for it at the top of the page. And I'm just flabbergasted and extremely pissed off because I cannot scroll on the rest of this page, as that is the end of this fight. Wow. As Mike picks up another victory, I already know who Mike's next challenger is going to be, but if you heard me go through the next card, it's not going to be on that. So shout out to Kimbo. I didn't even get to mention that I watched the Kimbo Slice Dark Side of the Cage last week. I guess I can talk about the next fight. But regardless, the VOD issue. I'm fairly certain because of this disclaimer, it has screwed up me being able to scroll down. So I have to go to my homepage on Twitch, go to my videos, go to edit videos, and then go to the video. So it's just a extremely longer process that I still haven't even managed to figure out. My point being is that this did not start being an issue until this disclaimer popped up for the other thing. And I know, because I've went on dozens of other websites, I almost said websites since then, and can scroll. I changed my settings, I restarted my computer, I've done everything. Still have not been able to scroll down. So hopefully Twitch makes my life a little bit easier. But that has not been the case for AHS in 2025. So there's a lot to discuss in this video as well. So that was thing 3. Thing 4. I watched the Kimbo Slice Dark Side of the Cage. I watched the Ultimate Fighter Dark Side of the Cage. And I started watching the Nick Diaz Dark Side of the Cage, which, is effectful here because we are currently using Nick Diaz. And for some damn reason, another damn issue popped up. And that one, my DVR wouldn't fast forward. And again, this is another case where I went on to other things and could fast forward. I legitimately fast forwarded through the Tough and Kimbo one during the. I'm trying to get through, point out that it's the commercials, which I normally don't mind sitting through the commercials, but because I had a log of these to go through, I wanted to go through them and not just have to sit and wait when I didn't have to. But like I said, commercials normally don't bother me. Point being, I still have half of it left. And I did not know that they actually interviewed Nick for this, so good on them for that, and good on him for that. Now, I also do know that this is the lightweight version of Nick Diaz, but I personally like this one more because it is in the Pride uniform, and I do not have the Strikeforce one unlocked, obviously, and that's welterweight Nick Diaz, but unless we lose, I don't think it'll be a discussion point. Speaking of Pride, I did not watch the Pride Dark Side of the Cage yet because when I watched the other one, because the Pride one is broke down into 2 parts, which I feel is fair, and I wanted to watch them back to back. So at that time, only part 1 had been uploaded, so that is obviously on the itinerary. And the thing that sucks is I do not remember. I know there's an Evan Tanner episode. I know there's a Matt Hughes episode. I don't think it is out yet. I believe there is a Ronda Rousey episode. So Kimbo, Nick, Pride ×2, Ultimate Fighter. How much is that? Kimbo, Nick, Pride ×2, Evan Tanner. So that's 5. Matt Hughes and Ronda, 6, 7. So I don't know the rest of the episodes. And I know there's 10. And I know I could easily look it up, but it's just a point to when you start talking about a bunch of stuff at once that it's hard to remember stuff. Like I said, I've been planning out future events in my free time. I'm not gonna reveal anything because I'll reveal some of the plan. I would obviously have to reveal and have planned event 8 for the next time we're here. But I have up until event 12 and 13 penciled in, cards have to change, but I at least have 5 fights written down for each event. But obviously we have not lost here yet, and I obviously fight to win and to get the fights that I want to see the most. But if a loss happens, then I gotta go with the flow and have that fight, a new fight, take place. This is what I need to do. Okay. Like I said, I'm glad that I'm remembering stuff as I go. Welterweight Grand Prix. Which, like I said, this fight has major implications because the winner of this fight is going to be in the Welterweight Grand Prix. It consists of 4 former champions and 4 top contenders. Now, I should have fact-checked about Carlos Condit because I think he was just an interim champion. He was not a full-fledged champion. So I'm considering him a top contender. If you want to consider, because I'm fairly certain he was an interim champion at one point. So if you want to consider him a champion, it's a technicality, but this is just mainly for marketing reasons. Now, there are 4 noticeable names that could have been in this welterweight Grand Prix, 2 of which I have reason for why they're not. 2 were just, they were on the chopping block, and I really thought about it and chose other people over them. So I will reveal the 4 that are not involved in this. Number 1 and 2, one of them is obvious. That's George St. Pierre, because he's our middleweight champion. We have George at the middleweight division at the moment. And I know it's kind of weird because he's one of, if not the, which I think he is the greatest welterweight of all time. Him not being involved, obviously it's weird, but he is our middleweight champion. Now, the other name that you're like, what? How the hell is he not in this? Is Kamaru Usman, who some others consider him the greatest. I'm not personally saying that. But my whole idea is that we do George and Usman at some point and it more than likely be for the middleweight championship. Now, the two names that I don't really have a rationale to why they're not involved in the tournament, but they're top names. One of them is Matt Hughes. The other is Shavkat Rakhmonov, who is he was the real life number one contender, and then they announced the next title fight, and he's not involved because of injury. So he'll be penciled in and figured into the welterweight division at some point, you know. And being honest, I remember, I don't think who the hell I decided for the contenders. I already revealed Carlos Condit, spoiler alert. We know another one. We got like 9 seconds to figure out if he's going to be in it right now. Who the hell are the other two? I don't know. Y'all find out later. So yeah, is there anything else of note to talk about? Obviously, I want to get this off of my chest because this is wrestling related. And a lot of my videos are wrestling related. And we've just had this big new discovery in the world of WWE of the final boss, The Rock, returning to announce WrestleMania's location for next year. And then everybody's like, oh, is he going to compete this year? And we had this segment with him and Cody again that proposes more questions than answers. There's legitimately little to no answers at all. But as someone that used to I still fantasy book. Obviously, that's a fun part of being a fan, is fantasy booking. But here's what I'm going to say. This is my fantasy booking. Because the issue with Rock and Cena happening this year, we could wait because we have our first welterweight Grand Prix competitor. And it is Nick Diaz. The Nick Diaz Army. I haven't continued the lineage of the BMF title, but if y'all want to call Nick Diaz a BMF champion, at that, I'm not going to argue it. So here's the problem with Rock and Cody for this year. So we have this damn Elimination Chamber match, and the winner of that's supposed to face Cody at WrestleMania. So how the hell do we get The Rock added to it? I personally think that The Rock's just not fighting at WrestleMania. Wrestling, sorry. We're playing a fighting game. I gotta allow it. I don't see him wrestling at Mania this year. Now, he announced and had talked about Mania next year. Should be fair. He probably did that last year as well. And I know that they're not thinking. They could say they're thinking this well in advance. I don't think that they are. The main thing that I want, and this is me. This is what I want. I want CM Punk in the main event of WrestleMania. And I'd prefer it not be in a triple threat match. I personally am over. Well, it's great to have it's extremely easy to have a good triple threat match. If you don't have a good triple threat match, then you're doing something wrong. I've said this time and time again on the channel. But I'm tired of the cliche. It's normally one person has a problem with one person, and then they just add the other person. I'm tired of that. I'm over it. It is not needed. So, the rumor for the Mania main event was going to be Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. I hate that. I don't even like that at all. I'd watch it, obviously, would complain about it, and it just kind of takes away from Punk's main event because there's just two people involved. He should be facing Roman if he's in this fantasy booking scenario. That doesn't matter. This fantasy booking scenario that I have is Punk wins the Chamber, faces Cody in the main event at Mania, which it is very odd that for back-to-back years, and we're just going to, for the sake of it, talk about this year's, they had Cody and Punk put on a great segment to build up interest. I was holding LT and RT. They had Cody and Punk have great segments to build up matches that we just don't know when the hell would take place. It's interesting as hell that they did that twice now. It's twice now that they've done it, though. That's the interesting part. Now, we get this match between these two. And here's my idea. The other thing, like I said, Roman could face Seth, which I do think that Roman is going to... The way that the Royal Rumble happened, I think that Roman is going to go after Seth. And if you look at like their recent history, Roman just hasn't wanted to pay Seth any attention. And now we got a submission victory in the first round. Good on Demetrius Johnson. Maybe he is the best flyweight of all time. He definitely is, but one of the greatest of all time. But Roman has just like kind of ignored Seth, where now Seth gave him a legitimate reason to come after him. I am also... So many people talk about their Royal Rumble 2022 encounter. It had a bullcrap finish. I also don't know how much that would be referenced now. I think because they've referenced it several times, but I don't like referencing it because of the bullcrap finish. But that was just a weird scenario to me. Point being, that could be the night one main event. Legitimately, they could do Jey Uso and Gunther as the night one main event. They got several options, but Cody, Punk, night two main event. Now, the only issue there is I think a lot of people are anticipating and wanting Cena and Cody, because Cena wants that 17th world title, which makes sense. You know, he should. That doesn't have to happen at Mania. I've said this a lot, that like a lot of things don't have to happen at Mania. Like Roman and Rock does not have to happen at Mania. That is legitimately a match that you can build its own pay-per-view on. People tune in, and the pay-per-view is titled Roman versus Rock. It's a very UFC approach, because I kept saying this last year, that it doesn't need to be at Mania. If you build the show around those two, you know, it makes it bigger than Mania. Which I know that hypothetically, when I was saying that, it would be replacing Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber would happen on the event, so I could understand not doing it in that scenario. So I know that Cena doesn't have to have that 17 title win at Mania. You know, it doesn't have to happen there. It would just make it a lot more magical. But I personally think, and this is just all my fantasy booking. I know I'm going all over the place, but I'll do a recap of it. And I also did tweet it out. And this is my last tweet that I made. So if y'all wanna, I won't make any more tweets. I'll probably make some retweets, but I won't make any more tweets. So that way you'll know, like, full blown what I'm talking about. Cena can face anybody at Mania. Now, the person that I anticipating facing is probably Logan Paul, which I hate saying it, so I'm just gonna say that one time. But my idea, this is my big idea. Cody, Punk, WrestleMania main event, and Punk turns heel. We keep in the back of our mind thinking about this favor that Paul Heyman owes CM Punk. And the favor is that Heyman helps Punk win at Mania, helps the heel turn. We get very 2012-13 vibes from these two. And the main reason that Punk turns heel is because he was advised to do so for the final boss. And Punk wants that Mania main event. Punk wants the WWE title. Punk wants the money. And Cody, and he would be, in quote, selling his soul to do that, which is what The Rock has asked Cody to do, which I doubt that he does. He might, but I doubt that he does. But Punk would be willing to do it. That way he legitimately checks off everything off that list. He gets the main event, he gets the title, and he gets the power. And he doesn't care that what he's doing to, you know, get that done. And it's a F you to Cody because he didn't do it when The Rock asked him to do it. Then, so we have a great heel CM Punk title reign. It has been years since we've seen that, considering his title reigns in AEW were marred by injury. And if you want to talk about the Real World Championship, he had two title defenses one against Ricky Stark and one against Samoa Joe. So I don't know how well you want to classify that as a good title reign. But my big idea is that Cena beats Punk for the WWE title. IMO, I think it should happen at Money in the Bank because it'd be a very wink and a nod to their biggest and best matchup at Money in the Bank 2011. So Cena gets his big revenge redemption story, gets one of his greatest rivals in CM Punk at the event that their big fight took place. And then Cena, you could have somebody cash in on Cena. I do think that would be like a bummer and ruin the momentum because it also ruins my next idea. And that is Cena's last match, which I don't know when exactly that's going to be. He's said December of this year. And very much going back to what I was saying, and my whole idea is like building a pay-per-view around Roman and Rock and titling it Roman and Rock. Like, this is legitimately what they're going to have to do for John Cena in his last match. I don't know what the show would be titled Cena's last match. You can make some pun out of it, but I think Cena's last match should be against Cody. I know passing of the torch, I don't really like describing that as, but it would be a very passing of the torch moment. Cody wins the title back, and who comes out? The Rock. And it sets up a match with those two. And the main match that people want is, they keep presenting and wanting us to want Cody and Rock, which is fine and dandy. But the main match we want is obviously Roman and Rock. So that way it doesn't happen at Mania. We do Roman and Rock at Mania next year. So, recapping. Punk wins the Chamber, faces Cody in the main event of WrestleMania, wins the title, turns heel with the help of Paul Heyman, and under the advisement and power of the final boss, The Rock. Roman faces Seth at WrestleMania in a one-on-one encounter. Later in the year, throughout the year, we get this Punk great world title run while he loses the title to John Cena, preferably at Money in the Bank. And then Cena has a good last world title run as well. Loses to Cody in his retirement match. We get Cody and Rock after that. And then we get Rock and Roman at Mania. So, there's a lot of X factors into that. But that was I was thinking about it over and over. Because I just kept saying in my head, like, I don't really see them doing Cody and Rock. Because, like, how do you get Rock the damn title match, and what does the Chamber winner do? You know, that's what I kept thinking in the back of my head. And so I was like, The Rock could help the Chamber winner, and I would prefer, we could see what happens. I also, Tom will we legitimately have a week to, see what happens. I don't really know if there's obviously lots to discuss, but I went through the main things as we get another finish. Another vicious finish. So, I told y'all my big plan is to do GSP and Usman at middleweight. But that's not going to be the next fight. We have one more fight lined up for GSP. And we're going to have a filler fight for Usman. So if they win both of those fights, that will be the fight afterwards. But I don't know when those fights are taking place yet, so I can't really reveal them just yet. But we only got one more fight left on this event until y'all get to see Event 7, which I already know 30% of it. Diaz, Stipe, John Jones. You'll see the 70%. So we have a light heavyweight title fight taking place now. They don't even do like title celebrations here? I just realized that. Because I don't think I skipped that. We're at the Spear. Next event's going to be at the T-Mobile Arena. I know in the grand scheme of things, event locations doesn't matter. It's also weird as hell, looking back at it, that I did event 1 at the Apex. And I mainly did that because I didn't know what the audio would sound like. And I do at the Apex, they didn't have commentary, so. I like the Apex Arena. I know a lot of people in the MMA world are just tired of seeing the Apex. So. Okay. It's also weird because I want to upload this before the Brooklyn Nets franchise. We did film a video in the Brooklyn Nets franchise. Spoiler alert! But I filmed it before this, so that's my next video after this. So it's weird to talk about. I didn't bring anything of it because I didn't want to spoil anything. But we finished out the regular season. Is the only spoiler I'll give out in advance. And this is also that was also the video I realized that the whole Twitch VOD catastrophe was going on during. So he's gonna try to punch me. I'm gonna catch him with a flying knee. It's gonna be the end of the fight. Okay, we tried that twice and he saw it, but the other times he didn't see it. Chama. I don't know when Pereira's next fight is. I know it's next month, obviously. I didn't know the exact date, though. Oh, he's kind of too far away. Can't wait to watch Collision tomorrow night. Tonight, I guess, technically. I will preface this with talking about this welterweight Grand Prix as well, is that I still have the heavyweight tournament saved in our tournament mode, so I don't have like a professional bracket to show, but it is very much, you could say, is seeded 1 through 8. And Diaz is the 8th seed, which in hindsight, maybe he wouldn't mind being the 8th seed, but it's kind of crazy that you could say that. A lot of people streaming on Twitch right now. They've been streaming all day. Whew. I just stepped on my cord. That produced a loud thud. Caught us, he caught us. Oh, we're playing around too much. Playing around. All right. Serious. I don't even know what challenges. I know we have to win. If we had, like, win 15 fights, and we're legitimately on 14 of 15, so. He could have took us out there because I was not holding LT and RT. All right, no more taunting. No more taunting. I lied. Oh! I'm going to try to finish it. I played around a more. 2 vicious hits. 3. I know that didn't leave that much damage, but it opened us. Okay, I'm holding RT. Probably shouldn't be saying that out loud, but doesn't matter now, as we still have the same light heavyweight champion. So, Alex Pereira already knows who's up next. That's Quentin Rampage Jackson. Quentin, why you say it like that? You are about to find out what happens at our next event. Before we do that, we got to see who wins Fight of the Night, KO of the Night. Yeah, they don't do title celebrations here, which I thought that I think if it's a decision, they do it. As we did get the last prize on this month's punch card, this season's punch card, Antonio Minotauro Nogueira, which also, bit of a spoiler alert, we didn't get to 69, but we're halfway there. Bit of a spoiler alert. I kept saying that Minotauro Nogueira was the replacement fighter, the bubble fighter for our heavyweight Grand Prix, and I do feel, especially because now we have this new alter ego, that he will be up next for our inaugural heavyweight champion and the winner of the heavyweight Grand Prix. I think that's a fair constellation prize. But we'll see when the hell that happens. As our fight of the night, I could agree with Shogun and Pereira being fight of the night. Masvidal and Diaz, it's kind of crazy that they don't get any acknowledgement for their fight, because I did think that was a good fight as well. But overall, like I said, the goal is to make these events bigger, better, better. I also just realized that the reason that these events are not that long, we don't have walkouts most of the time. We don't have commercials, have to show people in the crowd, etc. So I also, I just ain't wasting time. We going right ahead. We also don't have prelim belts as well, which for the sake of a pay-per-view main card, that doesn't matter. So we're going to go right here. Like I already said, this is not for the welterweight Grand Prix. This is our heavyweight Grand Prix finals. We've mentioned it time and time again, but that's happening next event. I got a bit scared because I saw the light outside first, but a car went down the road. All right. So let's see what the hell's happening at event number 7 at the T-Mobile Arena. We're going to delete this. It was a good card. We got to worry about this card, which, let me edit. Okay, y'all can see it here. The 1 seed, who, logically speaking, makes sense to be the 1 seed because he's the current welterweight champion, Belal Muhammad versus Nick Diaz, the 8 seed. We saw him qualify. You could say that Nick Diaz should be a higher seed, but there's a reason we're doing this fight, because I'm going to beat Nick Diaz and have Belal eliminated. Next fight, a fight that took place in real life. It had a controversial finish, and I will admit that Ben Askren, I said his fake name, Ben Askren was on the bubble. And I initially did not have it involved, but I kept going through the roster, and I was like, we're going to relive this fight. We're going to undo that screwed finish. Robbie Lawler's the 2 seed. Ben Askren is the 7th seed. We're reliving this fight. Michael Venom Page as the 6th seed against 3 seed Leon Edwards. I know we're also playing a bit favorites to recent champions, but GSP and Usman were champions for a long-ass time, so there is that. As our last fight, Tyron Woodley, who I know for certain was welterweight. We're going to fact-check this now. UFC welterweight champions. Carlos Condit, who I really wanted involved in this tournament in general, so that is why he is here, and we'll more than likely be using him for this fight. UFC welterweight champion. So we're going to Wikipedia. So we're fact-checking. I know that it sounded like I said fat, but I said fact. Okay, that time. Kind of made it sound worse. Pat Miletich, Carlos Newton, Matt Hughes, BJ Penn, Matt Hughes, George St. Pierre, Matt Serra. So GSP was the first interim champion. Then GSP won, and then Carlos Condit defeated Nick Diaz for the interim championship. So like I said, I was right with that. Johnny Hendricks, Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley, Colby Covington was an interim champion. Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards, Belal Muhammad. So Johnny Hendricks and Matt Hughes and BJ Penn are the only fighters that could have been involved in this tournament. Like I said, Matt Hughes was on the bubble. Johnny Hendricks, kind of questionable. Who was the other one? Leon and Belal. Who's the other one? I already skipped over. BJ Penn. I do have something planned for BJ Penn, so I could gloss over it. But obviously, the main fight, the one that matters, the main fight, the main event fight, John Jones, Stipe Miocic, the finals of our heavyweight Grand Prix. Stipe, one of my favorite fighters of all time. I'm going to try to avenge his last ever fight and get him the victory and get his championship back. But we got a week or so to wait for that. So that's our next time that we're here for AHS is streaming UFC 5. I would like to get a title or a series name for this, but I've titled all the videos the same. So I will see y'all when I see y'all. Please take care. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. If there's any fighters that you want to see in any of these events, any fights down the line, I might oblige and have them involved. But I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all when I see y'all. I'm out for now. Goodbye.